Hello, Sarita.
Hello. Thank you for having me on today. It's exciting.
I am so beyond honored to have you here today. I discovered your channel months ago when I think even before I started my YouTube channel, and was like, this woman knows what's up. And this is kind of like just a beautiful divine sign to actually be here talking to you.
I'm
So
very honored to be here as well. And I love what you're doing. And yeah, it's exciting. I actually love having interviews with different people and cross pollinating. I
yes.
think it's just so important for what's going on in the world right now. And I feel like there's loads of different little communities and we kind of all need to, come together and, grow a tree. come
Yes.
come from our branches and grow a tree together. Yeah.
Amen. I love that. So you have this amazing channel that has been such a resource to me. And I'm definitely going to be linking to all things you in the about of this video. I'm excited to connect my community with you. And so can you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'm doing. So basically, I'm shamanically trained healing practitioner. And what happened um, after I sort of finished my shamanic training, which by the way never finishes, it's like a lifelong sort of trajectory. I started to teach meditation and hold ceremony in my house, and that sort of expanded. And then I started running, more monthly ceremonies, and then more people started coming to meditation. And then somebody asked me to put one on YouTube, and I was like, why would I do that? And so then the YouTube channel, I had like 2 subscribers for like 3 months, and then it's sort of taken off. It's still a fairly small channel actually, but everybody on that channel is hardcore meditators. And so meanwhile, I was kind of growing my retreat center, which COVID aside is up and running. We're having a little COVID pause at the moment, which is actually great because it's giving me the opportunity to renovate. But it's really beautiful here. I'm in southwest France, and so I've been doing my shamanic work, and as I've been doing that, I've become, if you like, I don't know how to describe this. I started to sort of receive very clear
Yes.
information, which I would say was coming from me or source consciousness. It's not like I've got some, not like other channelers that go, I'm channeling an Arcturian or something. I'm
Yes.
actually just receiving information through me when I come into an altered state. And I'm now marrying kind of shamanic practice, which is, really earth based, with quantum cosmic meditations, and really exploring, if you like, quantum physics and translating it. I'm not a scientist, but I'm interested in it, and translating it and bringing that into meditation as well. So kind of marrying the two within the vessel of our bodies. And I'm teaching people that they have the ability to do anything, that they're literally
Yes.
super beings. And I've always known this since I was tiny. And, I just know it like with every cell in my being. And I've seen a lot of miracles now, and I know it to be true. And I'm just finding ways and methods to help people to understand that within themselves and to heal themselves through themselves by themselves. So I guide them, but
Yes.
ultimately they become utterly sovereign. I'm not one of those people that wants anyone to follow my protocol. It isn't like that at all. I help and guide where I can, and then say, look, take this amazing divine aspect of you as a creator and run with it, and the world's your oyster. And yes, it's kind of ever growing and changing, and I'm not bound by anything really. And I think, like yourself, the channel and the meditations and what I teach changes as I change and as my
Yes.
reality changes in accordance with how I'm changing. So it's an ever movable feast, if you like. So that's what I do.
Yes. So can you talk to us a little bit? What are some of the things that you practice, or just some practical tools for you getting into those altered states to then,
Yeah.
because it's, I mean, you're not, like you said, you're not channeling some other being. You've just and you have, you know, done the work and then are helping others to just clear that channel that we all have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the main thing for anybody who really wants to explore their own source consciousness and step into self-healing and all of those kind of things, just happiness, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Is to have a practice. And it's when you really have a good practice that suits you, what happens is it ceases to be a practice or work and it becomes something that you love to do. So basically, I meditate every single day. I normally meditate 3 times a day. And my last meditation of the day before I go to sleep can be a couple of hours long. I love it so much. It's like the moment I look forward to, and I just sit, and that in that meditation I merge with the present moment mostly. Sometimes at the end of the day, I have to send healing to different people that have asked me, and other, you know, family members and stuff that's going on. My kids are in other countries, so I might connect in and communicate with them and stuff. But on the whole, I sit in the present moment and I explore what's in there. So that's a real connecting to source consciousness. And it depends what's happening in my life. So, you know, sometimes I'll run with manifesting meditations for like 6 months if I'm trying to create something, which is big. Or if I'm having a physical issue, I will work with breath work. So what I tend to do is I'm not fixed on one thing. I have certain, I guess, standard practices that I do, but I mix and meld them. And that works for me. And what I found is that the more consistent with the practice you are, the more you find what flows for you. And we're all different. So, you know, something's going to work with some person and other things are not. But I do a lot of shamanic practices and I tweak them to suit me, basically.
Yes.
So it really depends what I'm doing. But I think the thing is the regularity of it. Like if I don't meditate now, I feel weird. I notice because my whole day will be off in a way.
Right.
I mean, I can really create my days on the whole are just incredible because I'm always in that space.
Yes.
So,
okay.
yeah.
I have a lot of questions about that. So I'm going to ask I'm going to say what came to me from what you just said. And then I have a question that I really comes up for me with kind of everyone I'm interviewing, especially when you're like, clearly your life is pretty awesome, which, you know, I'm sure you've done a lot to get there. So, first of all, I feel like I've thought about this in terms of like substances before. And, you know, it's all about intention with medicines and everything, right? But I feel like there's something about being human where we really seek altered states of consciousness and we really seek a release. And like part of what I'm hearing you say, you know, so for a lot of people, that release at the end of the day is like to watch TV or scroll Instagram for 3 hours or get drunk or do something very numbing. And, you know, maybe at first when you start something that is going to be more of a healing release, like meditation, there's a lot of resistance, but eventually you get to this place where it's like, that's what you're looking forward to at the end of the day, rather than, you know, getting fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the thing is that the other thing is that, so basically we've been conditioned to numb ourselves. And I'm sure that your viewers understand this. I mean, we're so conditioned. It's insane. You know, a lot of this work is about coming into the awareness of how we're conditioned. Even the stuff we love and like and that makes us feel good is conditioning, because at the end of the day, that's all, if you like, identity attachment. And that comes with a lot of problems in a way. It can do, but it also gives us our individual expression. But I think what happens really, it is hard. The reason you're coming up with resistance is because so many of us are in fight or flight. Our ego, so basically our brain, we don't even need to call it the ego, is running the show.
Yes.
The survival mechanism. Its job is to make you feel slightly scared all of the time so that you stay alive.
Yes.
So, so basically we numb ourselves because that fight or flight is running has mastered the rest of us,
Right.
basically. It's like a toddler running amok
Yes.
in your reality.
Yes.
And so it likes familiarity. It doesn't do danger. It doesn't do newness. It does not do the now.
Yes.
It does. Let's worry about the future and let's, be really depressed about the past, basically. Yes. So that's why there's so much resistance, because it loves the familiar. So whenever anybody begins a meditation practice regularly, this just starts freaking out.
Yes.
And it just throws everything at you. You're unworthy. You'll never get it right. Don't bother. You can't do anything properly. It just chucks everything. Netflix is much better. And let's have a pizza, a good bottle of wine. So I think that's a lot of resistance coming up, is that we're so used to listening to this and not this, or not even our bodies.
Yes.
That the resistance can easily take over. But the thing with meditation is, if you can drop into the now, which takes a lot of practice, and release the thoughts, you begin to notice a lot of stuff. You begin to notice that this is shouting at you, and that there's this other still place of peace that's behind the voice, that's actually more who you are. And as you drop into that, so you begin to notice what's been running the show of your life. You begin to notice that resistance is even, that it is resistance. And you begin to become aware that there's this other aspect of you that you can dive into. And as you sort of drop into yourself, and if you like, your innate source beingness, your frequency goes up. And as your frequency goes up, those things like Netflix and alcohol and whatever they might be, whatever you're addicted to, sex, sugar, there's just plethora of stuff, attention, there's so much. You begin to feel that as dense frequency, and it becomes more intolerable to you, because what you're doing is you're unnumbing. As you drop into that still place, you begin to sense what's truly going on. Your 6 and 7 senses turn on. And so now you can sense that thing that you were doing actually hurts you, and you begin to ease your way into something which is a higher vibration. So there's a lot of stuff going on when you first start, and there is a lot of resistance, and it's quite horrifying when you realize what's been running your life. And it's not like it ever goes away. It's, for me, it's a continual practice.
Right. Well, and I think a lot of people are scared to do that too, because, and I've talked about this with a few other people, of like, oh no, then I realized my whole life has been run by this monster. And like, it's scary to realize that, because you're like, well, my whole life's been a waste. Like, I would rather keep numbing and keep letting that happen than realize that and do something better. And that's just, so there's a little bit of like grace and humility with that moment of like, I'm going to see this ugliness and choose something better, rather than like continuing to let this run my life.
Absolutely. And where is that voice coming from? It's coming from the ego again.
Ooh.
This is the thing. It's really crafty, it's just, and you're right. There is such humility. It's like, the more that I learn, the more I realize that I don't know anything.
Yes.
And when you do something like the YouTube channel that I do, I'm constantly checking myself. Don't get egoic. Don't pretend you know it all. And yet I've got people coming to me going, well, what do you think about this? How do you feel about this? And they want information. I'm giving it to them. Right. And yes, sometimes my ego runs amok, and I have to notice and bring myself back. And it's constant vigilance. Who's that guy in Harry Potter who says that?
Amen.
Yeah.
And in that way, I mean, vigilance is presence. Like, every time you come back to the present, that is that vigilance. It's just, if you stop doing that because you think you have it figured out, like, you're going to be going on a...
That's the ego talking. It's really about authenticity, isn't it?
Yes. Can you talk to me about that word? Because it's something that I have been thinking about a lot, as far as what I just wish to portray and share with the world, you know, and what we share is what we teach, a la A Course in Miracles. And I feel like that's where healing happens. And sometimes it's not sometimes what's authentic is not like the most, you know, what our conscious mind would say is beautiful and perfect and whatever thing. Sometimes it's ugly, and that authenticity of allowing that to be what it is really loving it. So I'd love to hear you talk about authenticity.
Yeah, I think the thing is that what I'm trying to teach is sovereignty, which can't come about without authenticity.
Yes.
And the whole thing with authenticity is you can't be authentic unless you know what all your patterns and conditions are. So it's a matter of removing them to really discover authentically who you are.
Yes.
And then not limit yourself with restrictions such as, if I express anger now, that person won't like me, or my relationship will end, or I'll have to be heard by these people, or whatever it is that's limiting you. And authenticity is about, you know, we've come here as sentient beings, I believe, to experience the full range of emotions.
Amen.
And expression.
Yes.
And we learn by contrast. We're living in the third dimension. It's duality. Well, we're not actually anymore, but anyway, we'll keep it to the third. So we're living in the third dimension. It's duality. So you know up because you know down. So you're learning who you are. You've got this capacity to hate, and that teaches you how to love, and all of the shades of gray in between. And we're having all of these extraordinary experiences in every now moment, all of the time.
Yes.
And I think it's truly a matter of not limiting ourselves in an environment which has taught us to be self-limiting, or you will not be accepted.
Yes.
It's a very hard road to be authentic. How difficult is it to tell somebody exactly how you feel, even so, without restraint, but without projecting your shit onto them?
Yes.
You know,
very difficult.
So different. The first part is nearly impossible. You know, so many of us can't go, listen, what you said really affected me, and I don't like it. I can't do this, or whatever. It's just, we all go into fight or flight.
Right. And repress.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, but that's really interesting. This is something that I've been coming to terms with, and I feel like we're touching on, you know, this crux of the evolution that's happening with me, and therefore my channel and my platform, which is, you know, very much coming from this idea of, oh, well, oh, you know, immediately transmute, like, don't say anything negative, don't put up boundaries, don't sort of be honest and authentic, just go to that place of where, you know, of like total love. So it's really amazing to hear someone that I look up to, like in finding your YouTube channel and your meditations that you have there and the things you're doing, saying like, actually, we're here, at least in the three-dimensional human aspect, to learn about love through allowing ourselves to like be real with the contrast, which is, you know, fear, anger.
Yeah, because otherwise you're spiritually bypassing.
Yes, which is what I was doing. I was.
Everybody does that to begin with. You're cool. I mean, it's just a learning curve, and there's nothing wrong with love and light. It's perfect. It has its place.
Yeah.
But there's no point being love and light if actually what you're carrying within you is a well of grief or anger, that you never, because how is that authentic?
It's not.
You know, it's just not authentic. And the thing is that the thing with us is that we are with these extraordinary technology, we literally transmute energy, and we transmute information and code into love.
Yes.
So basically, as we feel something come up, as we allow it to be exactly what it is, it automatically actually, okay, you can do, I teach tools to do this, and, you know, there are ways that facilitate it, but basically it automatically transmutes back to its original source code, which is love. So literally you're a vessel that transmutes code if you allow it to be what it is. You're a transmuter. And at the moment, there's a lot of dense data that we need to transmute, that we've pushed down, suppressed,
Yes.
kept hidden, because we felt that we wouldn't be, you know, obviously we're collective beings, we would be ostracized or kicked out if we express them. We've been taught, don't express your anger, all of this kind of stuff. And actually we have this extraordinary capacity to facilitate change, not just in our in our body vessels, but because we are the microcosm of Earth,
Yes.
in the vessel of Earth itself.
Yes.
We're like a cell of the body of Earth. And
Amen.
as we transmute density, we light up Earth.
Yes. Yes. So in that repression and not letting ourselves be a channel for whatever emotion on the, which is energy, you know, energy and motion on the whole spectrum that comes up, it's like we're not trusting. It's like by feeling like we have to do it ourselves, by like repressing it and not letting it, and then just pretending to spiritual bypass, you know, oh, I'm only emitting love. It's like we're not actually trusting the true transmutation process that automatically and only happens when we just let things be what they are.
Exactly. And why is love only, oh, your sound has just cut out.
Oh, can
Hello?
you hear me now?
Oh yeah, I can hear you now. There's a bit of a time lag. Oh yeah, you're back.
I'm back.
Yeah, but the thing is that why do people think, I heard a great quote the other day, love is not necessarily just all sweet and light.
Yes.
Love can be fierce. You know, love can be, rage.
Yes.
Love has all flavors to it. I mean, there are just so many flavors of it. And yeah, I think that's what we are, you know.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing, because so we say everything is love, and we think that that means that I'm going to be sweet and accepting and have no boundaries and whatever to everything. But really, if everything is love, that means that fear is love. That means that rage is love. That means that so yeah, I'm just so not surprised that you.
I mean, think about it like this. So basically, the way I like to think about it is source consciousness is infinite potential. And basically that infinite potential is made of unconditional love, not unconditional love in the way that we couldn't even quantify what that unconditional love is.
We're not there yet.
So we're not there yet. We're getting there. But basically, literally, the cells of your body, the room you're in is all consciousness, and it's all made from unconditional love. And at the end of the day, it will all go back to where it comes from. Yes. After it's done whatever it needs to do. Yes. So literally, you're made of that material.
Yes.
So all of it is.
What a relief. What a relief.
You need to do now. You can just relax.
I know. And that is the answer, ironically, in the end.
Yeah, it is.
You know, like, stop trying to do, just be done. And we just don't believe it. We're like, no, I still have to try really hard and do all these things and control all these things, or else everything's going to fall apart. It's like, maybe everything needs to fall apart.
Exactly. And that's all attachment to, the identity again. And that we, even having to meditate or any of those things really is attachment to a kind of outcome that it's all our conditions, and we're doing our best. We're finding our little footsteps and our little ways, and meditation leads to something else, but eventually it leads to, one would hope, reconnection back to the all that is in the now moment, and just surrender.
Yes.
Which is what you're talking about, the trust. Yeah.
Yes. So the question I was going to ask you earlier, because you're clearly someone who is like, I mean, you just radiate it, like the authenticity of like, no, you're living this truth. And when you say like every day is pretty much awesome for you, people are like, how can I get there? And well, one way is by going to all these amazing retreats that you put on that people can find on your website, linked to down below, for SolHenge, your retreat center. So my question is, a little bit about your story, as far as, I am guessing that your life wasn't always so authentic and amazing, and like what happened, because that's what people, I think people watching like our channels are aware that there's a better way, and they're like, what's got to give to get there. So what was it for you?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that, I do, my life is basically it's pretty perfect, but that doesn't mean it's always easy.
Yes.
Especially in the last year, let me tell you. So, and I have other things going on, I'm a mum, I'm a wife, all of these kind of things. But I think what happens is, as you do this work, your perspective changes. And then so you don't see everything, you don't get in these loops of doom and gloom, or it's always going wrong, or you have to fight to get this, or keep up to do that, or struggle to earn every penny. As those perspectives shift, your reality shifts, because basically you are a reality making machine.
Yep.
You're a creator, literally. Your heart and your mind, when they're in alignment, we're living in a holographic reality, basically. So what goes on in the inside is a projection, and the outside shows you where you are on the inside, basically. So I would say that, first of all, I think it's, my life is essentially perfect, but that's to do with perspective.
You see it that way.
I see it that way, but because I see it that way, money comes easily, work comes easily. I live in a beautiful place. My relationship's fantastic.
Yep.
And my kids are happy, healthy, and whole.
You're not living in some, you're not living on some mountaintop away from everything. Like you said, you have all of these relationships and aspects that are the same as what everyone else has. It's
exactly. So I've had a few, things happen in my life. I'm just trying to, I had a strange childhood, because my dad was I was brought up in Mexico and America, and then my parents separated when I was about 6, and there was a lot of toing and froing, and it was very weird, because my dad was really rich, lived in a hacienda, and my mum left him, and we ended up very poor in a council house in England. So I was living this weird double life that I guess was quite confusing and strange. Plus, I was a very sensitive child. So, I had some, I levitated when I was little. I'd always tell people these stories because then they understand. So I levitated when I was little in a garden.
What?
My brother saw me levitate. Yeah, it was. I just lifted off the ground, was looking in a tree, wanted to be in the tree. And I lifted off the ground for a few seconds, and then I came back down. I was always talking to the fairies. I was always just like on another planet. I could hear people's thoughts. So I was always a bit weird, but that's quite confusing because you're always kind of slightly an outcast. And I was very much on my own planet. And then, so things got tricky because my mum, at some point, I think I was about 12, she married an aggressive alcoholic. And so that dominated my teenage years. And there wasn't, it had some quite scary moments in there. Mm-hmm. And I won't go into the detail but yeah, so it wasn't necessarily easy. And then at 30, when I had a 1-year-old, 2-year-old and a 3-month-old, I got thyroid cancer.
What?
So those were the biggies in my life, if you like, that propelled me more into my spiritual path. I mean, I was always on a spiritual path. I was always reading, I was reading Graham Hancock when I was 17, Fingerprints of the Gods. It always interested me. I was reading books on witches when I was young,
Yes.
So, I mean, Narnia.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times I've read that, so.
Can't tell you how many times I've been there.
Yeah, I know. So, so I have had these sort of pockets of difficulty. I've had quite a bizarre life in many ways. But, less difficult than other people, more difficult than some, it's just a mishmash, isn't it? But they've all kind of catapulted me. I lived in Africa with my husband, obviously lived in different countries. So I've had, an eclectic sort of upbringing. And also, bizarrely, when I was young living in Mexico on my dad's ranch, I was actually looked after by my nanny, who I now realize was a witch doctor. You know,
Oh
she
my
was
God.
basically a shaman. And I don't know
Ooh,
what I was picking
goosebumps.
up then. Yeah, I was like scrabbling around with the chickens in the hut that she was in behind the ranch, you know. So I don't know, but I think you pick up all of this stuff, and I don't think any of it's coincidence.
Yes.
So yeah, I've had difficult moments. You know, I have had difficult moments. You know, my dad's died. That was difficult. Lost my brother a few years ago. Lots of alcoholics in my family. You know, just I don't know, tricky stuff that lots of people go through.
Right.
And all of those things, I've suffered from depression, anxiety, glandular fever, ME. Then I got cancer. I'm completely healthy, by the way. Obviously
You
now.
are glowing. Like,
Yeah,
what happened with the cancer?
what happened with the cancer was I initially, even though it was against all of my inclinations, I went down the conventional route.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it was horrific. So, you know, I really decided to learn this one the hard way.
Yeah.
So basically I had 2 operations. They cut out both sides of my thyroid, had radiation therapy. I was put on tablets that were just awful. And I was subsequently ill for 5 years, like really ill, like noises would hurt me. I was exhausted all day long.
And you were a mom of 2 young children.
Yeah. I mean, exhausting, you know. And so that really, what happened is I kind of just one day I was like, right, I have to heal myself now. I can't do this anymore. Because the thing is, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to doctors, but
Yeah.
what's happened in our society, and you can see it playing out really beautifully in the current circumstances, is we've basically handed our bodily sovereignty over to others. And I just did that as a matter of course, because it was just what was done, especially with cancer. When I got cancer, no one had cancer. Now everybody has cancer. It's like normal thing, right?
Yeah.
But when I had it, was pretty rare. I only knew like one other person who'd ever had cancer. And so it's almost like we've been entrained. You know, what happens? You give birth, they take your baby away from you, prick its heel, inject it with stuff in the first, you know, we just like, from day one, we just hand our sovereignty and our children over to this system that's supposed to know more about us than us.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, yeah, I mean, so those were big lessons. The anxiety was a huge lesson. You know, I had chronic anxiety, I had depression.
So
they're all really huge lessons.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the anxiety lesson and the depression lesson? Because I feel like that's another big one right now, and seeing it as a lesson.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all the same lesson, which is to stop looking out and come back in. So, for example, with the anxiety was so bad when I had it that I went out, I'll have Valium, please, and sleeping pills.
Yep.
And I won't look at anything within me or what's going on. And I learned that lesson that's when I started to meditate, basically.
Okay.
And the thing is that it's all to do with sovereignty, because it's not just about meditating, but it's about going, okay, what is it that is causing this, really having the guts to look within. And it's not, it's a process, isn't it? You work something out, you fix it. Then you realize that was caused by something else. You sort that out. Then you go to the next thing. And it's just like these endless layers. And we're dealing with cellular memory, ancestral lines, karmic patterns, all the stuff that your parents handed you when you were like 3, you know. So I think it's a layering effect. And I think you need will and determination, and also this knowing, because I was very spiritual when I was young, but I kind of lost it in my teenage years because I wanted to conform, obviously, as most teenagers do.
Yep.
And that's at the end of those teenage years, I started to get very ill.
Yes.
And then one thing led to another, which eventually led to the cancer.
Right.
So it was just like anxiety, depression, glandular fever, ME, cancer, all in a row, bang, 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 you know? So, and that's because I lost who I was.
Yeah.
I lost me. And so then I had to find me again. And also that coincided with coming to France, which obviously there's less EMFs here when you're sensitive. There's, you know, You can see the Milky Way. I'm surrounded by nature. It's quiet at night. There's not so many people. All of those kind of things really helped me
Yes.
and began to allow me to heal myself. And basically, the way I stay healthy is I don't go to doctors.
Mm.
And you
Yes.
know what? I know I'm not recommending that to anybody, but
No,
look
you're
around
doing
you.
you.
They are on the way out, let me tell you.
Yeah, amen. And I mean, I come from a family of doctors, and that's not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence in my path either. So
Yeah.
it's, you know, it's all,
It's
and
not
it's
that I
like,
don't go to, I do use alternative practitioners sometimes.
right.
Um,
Well,
but mostly it's, I rely on myself. Yeah.
so I think it's just a, and again, it's not like we're saying anything absolute, and you're literally also here saying going on that path was part of the learning process to healing
Absolutely.
yourself.
Yeah, of course.
So like if you
Yeah.
hadn't gone there, you wouldn't have been on that path. But I think it's such a metaphor, just doctors in general, and everything that it represents also to me and my family, you know, this time around, of like just seeking that external, like something outside me is going to tell me what to do. And even the whole thing with like how prestigious doctors are and how much
Yeah.
they
And the
know.
quick fix of it as
Yeah.
well.
Yes.
Quick fix. We have a quick fix to sort this
Yes.
out.
Yes.
And okay, that does work when you've broken your leg or you've been in a car accident. I
Right.
mean, medicine is incredible for
Yes.
things like that. Absolutely amazing.
Yes.
If you have a long-term systemic issue,
Yes.
you need to look within, because where does everything come from? It comes from energy.
Yes.
We are basically condensed energy
Yes.
materialized into form.
Yes.
And so you can play with the form bit, but you need to really go through all of the layers, mental, emotional, energetic, spiritual,
Yes.
and find what you're using out there to create this.
Yes.
And most people, they don't even, you know, they don't put the two and two together. So they just think you have to work with this. But what they're doing is subconsciously, or wherever it's coming from, they're manifesting from these unconscious patterns and beliefs. And nearly everything you think and feel is derogatory.
Yes.
Nearly everything is, 99% is. So that's what you're manifesting into your materialized form, these derogatory conditions that are running the show of your life. You know, they're not just in your subconscious mind, they're in the collective mind and field as well.
Exactly. So this is something I've been talking about too, you know, because obviously when we go down this road, and I think again, this is where the spiritual bypassing can happen, and it's well-meaning, but of like, okay, well, whatever I think about becomes reality. So that makes people scared to go into the shadow work and into the subconscious and find all of these derogatory, and again, programs that have been handed down and ingrained in us for thousands of generations in, you know, our ancestral trauma and all of these things. So what can you speak to that, as far as like sometimes you have to go into the darkness to get to the light? Like, don't be scared.
Yeah, absolutely. But also think about what you've just said. They're scared to go into that. So their love and light is being run from fear.
Yes.
So what are they creating?
Yes.
This is the thing. This is why authenticity is so perfect. And yes, it's true. We are manifesting everything we think and feel.
Yes.
But what we're trying to do is, or what I believe we're trying to do, is to get to this 0 point balance where you understand that you're manifesting something new, knowing who you are. So it's like the shadow and the light. And I don't think there's anything wrong with shadow or darkness. I mean, my shamanic training, darkness is where it's at.
Yes.
You know, I was just out in the darkness last night having the most incredible experience, because it wasn't quite dark. There was like a half moon, or nearly a bit more moon. But basically in that kind of light, in that kind of darkness, it's not really light. It's darkness is a kind of light. I can see the source field. I can see it. It looks like thousands of hexagons. I can see plasma. I can see light coming off my hands. It's just incredible. And I'm getting this more and more. And I see in the darkness. And when we do our training, our shamanic training, a lot of our healing is in semi-darkness, because you see more in darkness. The light is bright. You see more in the dark. It's extraordinary. And we have and we have this shadow aspect. And until we can authentically see it, we
Yes.
can't transmute it. And until it's transmuted, we can't manifest something clearly new that we want, because we're manifesting from our past,
Yes.
not
Yes.
the now space. And that's why love and light doesn't work, because well, it might work for some people if they're completely cleared out, then great, we love and light. But if you're holding trauma or fear or shadow, then what you're really doing is you're projecting something that isn't authentically what's going on in you, and you're basically the projector.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
And you're like, why? I mean, and this is like, your outside world really always is an exact projection of what's going on the inside. So, and you know, and that goes to the collective too. It's just to say, so when people are like, but all I do is think positive thoughts, why does my life look like this? It's like, dude, first of all, your subconscious runs the show. Okay, so you can consciously tell yourself that you're, you know, thinking those thoughts all day long, and it just doesn't matter, because if you haven't gone into the roots, if you're staying up there on the surface, you know, the same kind of thing as the metaphor of the doctor. If you're just doing the quick fix on the outside and not willing to go into that, like,
it's like putting a Band-Aid on a boil.
Yes.
All the pus is underneath there, but it looks clean.
Yeah. It's good.
It's like
good. Like,
yeah.
But you know, that's the thing too, is like, just don't be afraid to be honest with yourself, as far as like, do you want to know how your subconscious is doing and how that trauma healing is going and everything? Like, how's your life going?
Like, I mean, the thing is, it's such an amazing set. It's so divinely orchestrated. Everything you look at is a reflection of how you think and feel. So look around the room you're in now. Does it please you? Is it beautiful? You know, and if you're living in clutter, what is going on? I'm actually living in clutter at the moment because I'm in a renovation site, but I'm renovating.
You go through that. I mean, that's a beautiful metaphor too, to build something new and beautiful. There's like the messy construction period.
Absolutely. But I also think there's something new happening now, because yes, we have this subconscious, and your subconscious is a huge supercomputer. It's literally building an entire new universe in every now moment. It's not like it strings a new moment along to the other one.
Right. Not building.
That's not what's happening.
It's like building like
the whole universe in every now moment. Yeah.
Yes.
So outside, I always explain this like this: outside your caravan, there's nothing but source consciousness. As you open the door, your brain is building what you see, and as you step out, it's building it. That's how amazing it is. But the thing is, I think what's happening is, I think we've been, in a way, I believe that this conscious and subconscious brain idea, or the 4 parts of the brain, is actually part of the old self, the old 3D self. And I think we're moving into this upgraded physical technology, where when you come into the now moment space truly, we begin to create or manifest, however you want to look at it, it really is creation, in direct relationship to source. So we don't really need our brains are sort of, they're more a translator of what's going on with source.
Yes.
And I think we've been using them as a kind of hoarder of conditioning.
Yes.
And I think that we set that up, and I think that's leaving, which is why so many people are struggling at the moment, because the shadow is coming up. Look at the collective shadows coming up. Our shadows are coming up. The way we've used our brains is coming up. I mean, it's been a hard year.
Yeah.
And mostly people have got these, you know, myself included, these fear patterns that are going into overdrive, so that you can see how you wired your brain to make your reality.
Yes.
You wired it, you can unwire it.
Amen.
Yeah.
And you know, it's that moment, like we were talking about before, of surrender. And that moment, I always, you know, A Course in Miracles is a great book, and the woman who channeled it, like the story of how that opens up to come is basically saying, this isn't working. There has to be another way. And it's like, how bad do things somehow have to get, whether in the collective or in our own experience, you know, cancer, like mental illness, whatever, like, and I mean, I can relate to that as well, for us to be like, you know what, this isn't working.
Yeah.
And
But
I'm
then
going to look at that.
also it's coming up, like the reason you're getting the cancer, the mental illness, is the reason it's coming up is because you can't hold it anymore.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
reason you can't hold it anymore is because naturally your state is to evolve. You're evolving without doing anything.
Yes.
Everything you look at, touch, feel, breathe, nothing, stillness is evolving you.
Yes.
So it's coming, we feel like it's bad. It shows us how awful it is. But what we're really doing is we're ejecting it.
Ah, thank you.
And look what's happening in the world. We're ejecting politics, education, big pharma. I mean, we're ejecting the whole kit and caboodle but we think what's happening is it's just happening because everything's so awful. No, the shadow is coming up because we've evolved to such a level, aka ascension. It can't stay here anymore. It's too dense a frequency to stay upon the planet.
That makes a lot of sense.
So it's the inverse, huh?
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's like it's the pressure release. It's the pus coming out, and it looks really ugly. But, you know, and I've been saying this a lot, but it's kind of like the Tao says, like, sometimes things have to get bigger before they can get smaller. Like sometimes it has to look like a shit show before we can see the aftermath.
Yeah, it's like my husband says, you have to break eggs to make scrambled eggs, you know.
Yes.
So it's, but I think we've been entrained to think that when we see things that are painful, that cause us suffering, it means something's wrong.
Yes.
What I've learned about our reality is everything is inverted in our reality. Everything is inverted. Everything we've ever been told is the inversion of the truth.
It's the opposite.
So it's the opposite. So if we look at all the ugly thing, it's a good thing, not the bad thing. It's a good thing. It's going. It's on its way out. Yeah.
I love that. So this has been such an amazing conversation, and I hope the first of many, honestly, because you're just, yes, you get it. And so I just want to end with coming back to, you know, I watched one of your videos, recent videos, that was like, this is the one most important thing that you can do. And it was, you know, just coming to the present moment. So if you could just, and you've touched on it a couple times, if you could just touch on that one more time, you know, during this conversation of like, it's this simple. It's not easy. It's just this simple. So what is it?
I think it is easy. I think it's effortless, and it's all to do with that authenticity, because if you can come into the present moment without any attachment to your past conditions and any attachment to your future ideas, because your natural state, and we've just said this, is evolving, because you're made of unconditional love, and because in the present moment you can create something entirely new because you're not being run by the conditions, then because you are a creator naturally, effortlessly, without doing anything. You wouldn't be having this reality if you weren't creating it. That's it. So when you're present without any conditions, in the true authentic form of who you are, which is unconditional love, we create the most perfect future. That's it. You don't even need to do that. You just start to it just starts to come out of you. That is the love and light path. You know what I mean? It's the true path. And also it's the surrender. It's the trust the divine, which is you. You are the divine. You're surrendering into unconditional love, which is what you are. You're evolving as unconditional love. And then what do you create? Things made of unconditional love that have no limitation, constraint, contraction, constriction to them. It's just pure.
Yes.
And that's the world we want to see, isn't it?
Yes. And it's just like, get out of our own divine way.
Get out of your own way, you'll be good. It is like, I think that is, and the more I learn and the more I teach, the more I'm realizing is that simplicity is where we're at, basically.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sarita. And I didn't say this at the beginning. It's so funny because when I was having my, spiritual, whatever level in that ever going evolution of spiritual awakening, in Guatemala last year, I found your YouTube channel and listened to your meditations all the time and just, really looked up to you. And it was also like special and synchronistic because one of my dear little friends in Guatemala was named Sarita. And so it was like this thing. And then I met, our dear friend Eiko, who connected us and became very close to her. And somehow, she sent a video about you. She sent one of your YouTube videos and was like, this is my friend. And I was like, this is your friend? Like, I can't believe this. I love this woman. And so it's just, I knew then, I was like, okay, well, her name's Sarita. And like, so this is all divinely connected. And, here we are.
You created it, basically. Exactly. Effortlessly as well, isn't it? I mean, how effortless was it? You were sort of having that thought and then everything just came together.
Yes.
And, here we are. So
yes.
Yeah, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you. It really has. Lovely conversation. Yeah.
Yes. Well, igualmente. And I look forward to whatever the future effortlessly brings. And thank you so much for everything. I really hope people will check out all of your resources. You've been such an amazing.
I mean, loads of them are free. So there's a lot out there for free for anybody. Yes. And obviously I teach and run retreats.
And I hope to come to SolHenge myself one day.
Oh, we'd love to see.
Very much so. And get to be with you in that magical space. So
that would be lovely.
Thank you for everything. And I will talk to you soon.
Thank you very much for having me.